Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I am back for another video. This is a quick little middle of the day little conversation. Yeah. Hi. See you guys in the chat. Um, I just wanted to come on here quickly and talk about the Walz Harris rally yesterday. As I mentioned in my exploration of the economy from last week, um, I have some concerns. And so I am definitely gonna be working more. Like look. And by the way, I spent much of this morning kind of doing my, morning economics reading, my morning economics exploration, because I am deeply committed to figuring out what is going on with the economy. Um, had a very rigorous, healthy back and forth with, she wouldn't describe herself as an economist, but somebody who studied economics in grad school. Um, and it's a puzzle, it's a mystery, because there are some really mixed signals in the economic data right now, but we will explore that more later. But the economic data is particularly not great for consumers. GDP is good, productivity is good, consumer sentiment real bad, savings rate decreasing. I mean, we don't have to get into it, right? But I'm just saying, right? Like, I want to make sure that whatever happens, girl, I'm ready. Okay. Okay. And of course, I plan on really diving deep into what that means for the upcoming election. I will do that. The other thing is, somebody commented, like, left a really long comment, like, like, I know how your business works, and thank you so much for making this content free. And I also feel like if I am saying that I'm worried about the economy, it um doesn't make sense for me to make all of the content behind the paywall, right? Like, if I am saying that, like, very clearly average people are struggling, then you have to make free stuff, you know? So that's that. So I will be here and behind the paywall moving forward. But also, I just missed working. I've had a good summer. I had a really good summer. It's been a great time hanging out. Last weekend, I saw a movie called Dee Dee, but we got to get back to, like, being a productive member of society. So, okay, let's get into Governor Tim Walz, who is the vice president's vice president, the vice president's running mate. All right, yesterday, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris had their first public rally together. It was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at an arena at Temple University that houses, or that seats, 10,000 people. From the reporting that I have seen, the total capacity for the event inside of the arena and outside was 14,000. 10,000 people seated inside, and the overflow was 4,000. I think things are looking good. I think that was, again, uh, another expertly choreographed, staged event. One thing that you have to give Harris right off the bat, I think it was really important for her to underscore at the outset that she is the underdog. She is the underdog for multiple reasons. Still, the momentum is absolutely on Harris's side. Despite some misgivings, I am encouraging people to vote for Kamala Harris, because I think it is crucial critical, of the utmost importance that Donald Trump is not allowed to get back into the White House and fill the executive branch of the United States government with Trump loyalists and install all of the horrible Trump loyalist, Constitution hating judges into the federal judiciary across the nation. I think that is so critical. And then, of course, we have the economic headwinds, which, will whatever. Um, but yes, Kamala Harris is going to need every single speck of momentum that she can get from now going into November. Absolutely. So she chose Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, and I hate to, I don't hate to. I love to pat myself on the back. I knew it. I called it. It makes perfect sense. Let's get into why Tim Walz is such an appealing pick. Let's start with his much talked about appearance on Morning Joe.
What I know is that people like J.D. Vance know nothing about small town America. My town had 400 people in it, 24 kids in my graduating class, 12 were cousins, and he gets it all wrong. It's not about hate. It's not about collapsing in. The golden rule there is mind your own damn business. Their policies are what destroyed rural America. They've divided us. They're in our exam rooms. They're telling us what books to read. And I think what Kamala Harris knows is bringing people together around the shared values, strong public schools, strong labor unions that create the middle class, health care that's affordable and accessible. Those are the things. You look what they're talking about, they went right to division. They did not give us a plan on health care. Donald Trump talked about infrastructure. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris built bridges, built roads. So I think this is going back to the bread and butter, getting away from this division. We do not like what has happened where we can't even go to Thanksgiving dinner with our uncle because you end up in some weird fight that is unnecessary. and I think bringing back people together, well, it's true. These guys are just weird. And it's, they're running for He-Man Women Haters Club or something. That's what they go at. That's not what people are interested in. And there is angst because robber barons like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump gutted the Midwest, told us we didn't do that. They talk about private schools. Where in the heck are you going to find a private school in a town of 400? Those are public schools. Those are great teachers that are out there making a difference and gave us an opportunity to succeed. That angst that J.D. Vance talks about in Hillbilly Elegy, none of my hillbilly cousins went to Yale, and none of them went on to be venture capitalists or whatever. It's not who people really are. So I think that message doesn't resonate. You saw it yesterday. The energy out here exploded. We all broke fundraising records, but that's not what I look at. Door knocks are full. Phone banks are full. People are talking about what's possible. We are finally on offense about an America where we're all together. So good. Have Orban down to Florida. The vice president will come out here and stand in a Planned Parenthood. She stands in a Planned Parenthood clinic in St. Paul. That's what people want to see.
He ate that. I'm sorry. He ate that up. I talk a lot about not throwing away your shot, which of course I stole from Lin-Manuel Miranda. But Tim Walz was a relatively unknown but broadly popular state figure before a week or two ago. But that appearance, as somebody who I just love the art and the science of rhetoric, it was just a masterclass. It was filled with good sound bites. He hit the talking points. He was direct and forceful. He was funny. That is hard. That's hard to be able to get all of that in 2 minutes. That is a real, like, I think people don't. I hope that we can appreciate what an incredible skill that is, how useful that is. Dude, of course I laughed when he said, like, we don't want to have any weird fights. Like, that's so like, yes, I'm tired of having weird fights. Cause I don't know if I completely trust the polling, but there is a discernible uptick in the Black men that I have encountered who say Trump stuff. I don't want to argue about non-binaries. I don't want to. Like, like what are you saying? You know what I mean? Like, trans people make up 1.5% of the population. Why do we have to have a trans conversation every day? It's ridiculous. Right? Speaking of that, we do have to come back and talk about the Olympics cuz that's absurd. That's absurd. I've also said last year, earlier this year, that weird stuff, as I said, the men who are attracted to that certain side of the internet, weird. They're weird. I'm sorry, y'all are weird. Why do we all have to suffer because y'all are weird? So, anyways, I said all that to say that Governor Tim Walz really hit the nail on the head there on so many things. And I also wanted to underscore, I think I mentioned a couple of videos ago, like my orientation toward liberalism. And people are like, liberal. Okay. When I say that I am oriented towards liberalism in the classic political philosophy sense means you do what you want. Your body, your choice. You govern yourself. It is about personal autonomy, a rejection of paternalism interpersonally, but also with regard to the state. That's what I'm underscoring. That even if that there are, and he's gonna say this, even there are many things that I just would not do. Just wouldn't do it. Cause I have all kinds of aversions, loud noises, sounds, colors, people who can't dress, you know what I mean? Like, but just because it's not for me, what does that got to do with you? Now, my politics are around a certain kind of vision, but that vision aims to optimize people's capacity to be themselves, to fulfill their full potential, to pursue life courses that maybe don't exactly align with what I'm into, but that's you. Are you hurting people? You're not hurting anybody? Okay. And then, of course, this went viral.
Ow! My eyes! And my legs hurt too.
Good job, Webster.
Cute. Adorable. And then let's get to the call of Kamala Harris telling, and I don't know, do y'all think that this was like re-recorded, or was this the actual call?
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country, the enthusiasm that's out there, it'll be a privilege to take this with you across the country.
Well, let me tell you, I have just the utmost respect for you. I have really enjoyed our work together. You understand our country. You have dedicated yourself to our country in so many different and beautiful ways. And we're going to do this. We're going to win. And we're going to unify our country and remind everyone that we are fighting for the future for everyone. So let's get out there and get this done, okay?
Let's do it. Do the work in front of us. Let's win this thing.
That's right. All right, buddy. I'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Okay, that was cute. Vice President Harris, Kamala love a phone call. Kamala, stay on that phone. um, the reason why I asked if y'all think that it was pre-recorded because the New York Times did a, reporting around how exactly the pick came to be and how little time there was, and I was like, how did they have that time? But let's go to the New York Times article about this. It's linked below. How Kamala Harris trusted her gut and picked Tim Walz. This was published yesterday. Y'all know I love an article. The im- Now, girl, what's going on? Go back, girl. Wait, let me go. Let me go back. Okay, okay. I think we did it. We did it, Joe. All right. The ambitious Josh Shapiro asked about his role as vice president. The battle tested Mark Kelly was already seen as a third option, and the happy go lucky Mr. Walsh promised to do. Mr. Shapiro had probably Mr. Shapiro had privately appeared more circumspect about the vice presidency, according to multiple people familiar with the selection process, asking about his role and responsibilities. Mr. Shapiro, 51, is widely seen as harboring his own presidential ambitions, which could have complicated any relationship where his chief job would to be serve as a dutiful number two. Wait a second. Let me go over here. What's going on? This is not. Sorry, one second. All right, guys, we're back. We're back. So the whole point of the article, it goes through how Harris chose the two finalists, which were Shapiro and Walz. This excerpt is basically saying that Shapiro had some reservations about the potential limitations of being a vice president. Here, Mr. Shapiro had privately appeared more circumspect about the vice presidency, according to multiple people familiar with the selection process, asking about his role and responsibilities. Mr. Shapiro, 51, is widely seen as harboring his own presidential ambitions, which could have complicated any relationship where his chief job would be to serve as a dutiful number two. In contrast, Ms. Harris would later describe Mr. Waltz, who explicitly told her not to pick him if he could not help her win, as joyful and willing to do anything for the team. Around 10 a.m. on Tuesday, Mr. Walz, dressed in khakis and wearing a camouflage baseball hat, took a call from Ms. Harris. He had missed her initial call because it came from a blocked number, one person familiar with the call said, and she asked if he would be her running mate. Let's do this together, she said. Mr. Waltz accepted. 7 hours later, and with only 3 months to go until the election, the new pair strode on stage together, waving to a crowd of thousands in Philadelphia. Girl, y'all just gonna have to. We're just gonna have to weather the we're gonna have to weather the technical difficulty storm together. Okay, okay. I'm in the process of unloading everything. Everything is outsourced. Am getting to the point where the only thing that I am doing is turning on the camera and sitting down. So everything else, somebody else. I'm 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 just a talent. Just kidding. Just kidding. But we're trying to get there. Um, but shout out to the team. We love teamwork. But that was a really interesting article. You know, I love the New York Times that underscored that in addition to Waltz and Shapiro, whom we all knew, The other finalists were Pete Buttigieg. That's why we saw Mayor Pete, or Secretary Pete, because he's currently the Secretary of the Department of Transportation. We saw Secretary Pete everywhere, but really Pete like in his personal capacity, because he can't really do these little interviews with the wild quotes in his official capacity as a cabinet member. And makes perfect sense. Andy Bashir, the governor of Kentucky, Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona. They just, couldn't. J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, was also in the mix, but Shapiro and Walz make the most sense as the final two. I think ultimately Shapiro is just too samey, too ambitious. There are so many things about a Harris Walz combination that I think really works. And one of the things that really works for them, for me, is the contrast just visually. There's something really, it really works here. And they're contrasting in a unique way. So Kamala Harris is a Black and Indian woman. There is all kinds of research about the fact that audiences who engage with Black electeds and the electorate, the registered voters, like of their districts, perceive them as being more liberal than they are. And that work was pioneered by who? Former president of Harvard, Claudine Gay. We don't have to get into it. But yeah, she did really important research about how no matter where you are in the country, white people engage with Black electeds. They assume that they are more quote unquote liberal or progressive than they are. And then you have Tim Walz, who is, folksy and hunts and stuff and wears the camo. And you see him and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's, a Trump voting person. And like, oh, like he's definitely really conservative, because we're visual people. We ascribe all of these things to certain kinds of aesthetics. We project onto people immediately. And then you dig into it, how he is governed, the stances that he has taken, and you're like, oh, and add to that the fact that he was in the military for 20 something years. And then you're like, oh, fierce, loyal advocate and ally of gay and trans people, and universal free lunch, and restoring felon voting rights, and very friendly policies to undocumented people, and enshrining abortion rights, like all of these things that you wouldn't necessarily project onto somebody who has Waltz's aesthetic. And I think that kind of, because Kamala Harris is we don't have to get into it. We don't have to get into it. But I think that the contrast between how they look and what their actual policies are, I think that that's really useful and important. They can speak to different audiences. They can fit in comfortably, meld into, assimilate into different spaces. That's really useful. I also think it's useful because the Trump Vance, like they're, well, not really Trump, because Trump loves elitism. He basks in it, right? Whatever. No matter how he panders, because y'all love to say the word pander, he panders to the Christian nationalists. He panders to the lowly, poor, undereducated white people in the Rust Belt and in the middle of the country, but he doesn't care about those people. He doesn't like them. JD Vance does the same thing, but they love elitism. They love elitism. I think it's really interesting that these are two people. The Democratic Party is supposed to be, the party of the elite, the party of the college educated, but nobody on this ticket has an Ivy League degree. That's rare. In fact, I actually would need to do some research. When's the last time you had a mainstream major party ticket with no Ivies on it? That y'all do the Googles. Y'all do the Googles because I know it's been a minute. I know it's, I mean, I'm trying to go back. Not the 80s. I mean, it's the 70s for sure. For sure. Um that's a big, so the kinds of socioeconomic diversity, the kind of class diversity that the Republicans pander to is actually the kind of diversity that Waltz and Harris actually kind of embody. You know, all of this talking about identity politics, like this is actually a remarkable level of not only racial diversity but kind of those markers of class in this ticket. That needs to be talked up more. Y'all need to be writing op-eds about that. The fake rejection of classism versus the real rejection of classism. Okay, free idea. Free idea. Oh, Joe Biden didn't go to an Ivy. Why did I have it in my mind? Oh, okay. Wow. Anyways, but you know, Joe Biden was like a senator since he was 30. So I don't really count him. You know? Like if you got to be elected senator when you were 29, like, I don't know. But anyways, so but still, the premise holds, okay? Actual class diversity versus fake class diversity. Okay. Um Waltz taught social studies in high school. I see the comment in the chat. Okay, so let's get to what he actually said.
In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule: mind your own damn business. These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope.
Oh, that's cute. And if y'all are interested in it, today I randomly got suggested a video of Governor Walz and Hope. Apparently it was like it's promoting this thing about not being distracted while you're driving, and it was him in the car with his daughter, and it was like really cute. He just seems like a fun man, a fun high school teacher who is the governor of a state. Okay, let's move on. He had some other good stuff.
J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
I'm sorry, I did not give a fuck. That was funny to me. I just thought just great natural timing, great rapport. I think there's such a balance that you have to do when you're speaking in front of so many people. Not that I've ever spoken in front of 10,000 people. I maybe done in front of a few thousand, not 10,000. But when people are cheering and they're speaking back, there's like a thing that you have to do to make sure that you're not like trying to talk too much over their applause, like the ability to have fun with it. Not Tim Waltz being a star. Not Tim Waltz, like naturally being so good at this. Love it. Obsessed. Obsessed. So good. And I can't wait to debate the guy. Because I do think I saw people being like, oh, JD Vance is gonna kill him. Why do you say that? JD Vance is trying to force so hard what comes so naturally to Shapiro and Waltz. JD Vance has no charisma. He doesn't even, I know he wrote that book that people like, but in his public speeches, I'm not even particularly impressed by the way that he puts words together. Okay, next one.
Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
Get me. Speaking of little lines, now I am generally positive about Kamala and how far she has come. I know that it is very typical for candidates, elected officials to just like repeat the lines. I know Donald Trump's type line did not hit the same. It did not hit the same. So we get it, and I think that line can be retired. But I do love Kamala with the navy blue and the nude. Love that with the little flare, the kick flare with the pant. I like it. But we don't need to say that I know Donald Trump's type no more. We got it. Um, Also, I meant to comment on, Ivy's catching strays. I was like, oh, damn. It's not cool. It's not cool to go on Ivy anymore? Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I'm sorry. It's fine. It's fine. Um, I just really like him. I really like him. I think the other thing that's really appealing to about Tim Walz is that he has explicitly said he doesn't want to be president. So he's really here to contribute to the mission, if you want to use those metaphors, and be support and win this election. All right. I do have some. I had to add in some Shapiro clips because they were good. I had to be. Um, the reason why people like Shapiro is because he is young-ish. He's 51 years old. He's moderately attractive, but really, people just like good speaking. As I say all the time, people aren't really that ideological. They don't. Most people have deep feelings, hardcore, passionate feelings about maybe an issue or two, but not really. They just want to feel good about politicians. They don't want to, recoil every time they see them on the television or going viral on their phone. And Shapiro, I think checks off those boxes. So we can watch a couple of his clips.
Every single day, I go to work for you. I put my shoulder to the wheel, and I focus on 3 simple letters in our alphabet. G, S, D. I focus on getting shit done for all of you. Family, and I lean on my faith, which calls me to serve. And I am proud of my faith. Now hear me. I'm not here to preach at y'all, but I want to tell you what my faith teaches me. My faith teaches me that no one is required to complete the task, but neither are we free to refrain from it. That means that each of us has a responsibility to get off the sidelines, to get in the game, and to do our part. Are you ready to do your part? Are you ready to form a more perfect union?
That was, I have a couple more clips, but it's giving. Policy wise, not so much. The aesthetics are giving. The presentation, it's giving. Also, it stood out to me. He talked about, are you ready to form a more perfect union? Of course, that is allusion to the, founding documents of the United States. But also, Barack Obama gave a very famous speech referred to as the more perfect union speech. Important, influential, and of course, Shapiro and Obama have a long-standing, deep history together. That makes sense to me. We have a couple more Shapiro clips that I think are good.
And Donald Trump, well, he's now got a partner with him. Y'all see that guy? Yeah. J.D. Vance, he's not exactly off to a good start. I think we can all agree on it. But I think part of the reason why he's not off to a good start is this, and it's serious. He doesn't know who he is. And he's not being honest with himself, so he can't be honest with the American people. He can't. Now, So if I hear you right, and I think I do, you're chanting, he's a weirdo. Which means, man, I love you, Philly. Which means, if you're chanting, he's a weirdo, then you heard of my good friend and our next vice president, Tim Walz. Because Tim Walz, in his beautiful Midwestern plain-spoken way, he summed up J.D. Vance the best. He's a weirdo. And Donald Trump, well, he's now got a partner with him.
Because he is a weirdo. What works there? Yes, the Barack Obama cadence, but Barack Obama cadence is assimilated Negro preacher cadence. And I mentioned at the end of the second clip I played for Shapiro that he used the phrase more perfect union. More perfect union is found in the preamble of the Constitution, but it's also the central theme of a speech that Barack Obama gave in March of 2008. If we really want to go back in our political history, okay, Barack Obama in March of 2008 had to give the seminal More Perfect Union speech because this is kind of this gets into the racial politics, the complicated racial politics of Barack Obama, but this was the more controversial teachings of his former pastor Jeremiah Wright came out. And Jeremiah Wright was old school black nationalist preacher from Chicago saying God damn America. It's not God bless America, it's God damn America. And that 9/11 was the United States, the imperialist projects, chickens coming home to roost. And Barack Obama, being who he is, some might call it opportunism. Okay. But Barack Obama and Michelle Obama were members of Wright's, his congregation. I believe Wright married them, if I remember correctly. And this stuff came out as Barack Obama is trying to get to the nomination. And Barack Obama has to come out and say, I don't believe in that. More on, there's not a red states of America, there's not a red states, there's not a blue states. We're all together. We have to work together to put that race stuff in the past. That's Obama. That's Obama. It's a good speech, though. It's a good speech, but complicated. But yes, Shapiro has that affect to him. It's just a thing. I think I have one more clip.
Right here in the birthplace of real freedom. The other side, Trump and his sycophants, let me tell you something. They love to talk a good game about freedom, right? They love to cloak themselves in the blanket of freedom all the time. They love to talk a good game. But hear me on this. It's not freedom to tell our children what books they're allowed to read. That's not freedom. It's not. It's not. It's not freedom to say you can go to work, but you can't join a union. That's not freedom. It's not freedom to tell women what they're allowed to do with their bodies. That's not freedom. It's not. It's not. It is not. No, it's not. It is not. And it won't be that way when Kamala Harris is our president. And it sure as hell isn't freedom to say you can go vote, but he's going to pick the winner. That is not freedom.
So that was Josh Shapiro. Look, Josh Shapiro is definitely running for president. In that reporting from the Times, it basically all but says he had a lot of he did not want to he didn't want his light to be dimmed as vice president. He want to shine bright, shine far, be a star. That's what Shapiro wants. And it does align with what my feelings were. The first Black and Indian woman who could potentially be president does not need to constantly be standing next to a charismatic, good looking, I'm sorry, cancel me, um, a smooth operator who has high ambitions. It takes too much away. It don't work. So he gonna be waiting in the cut, doing his thing as governor of Pennsylvania, and then we'll see him in 8 years, maybe 4 years, depending on what happens in November. We'll see him. I thought it was a very well executed rally. Democrats are now and have always been winning the aesthetics war. They're winning the visuals war. As I mentioned in the last Kamala Harris rally, the different camera angles, the lighting, right? The color balance of the actual video, it just looks good. It looks good. And I'm not sorry, but compare how that rally looked to the Vance, or I shouldn't say Vance first, the Trump Vance rally from Atlanta from a few days ago. Oh my God. Of course, I didn't watch the whole thing. I was just interested in the clip where Donald Trump was going hard after the Republican governor of Georgia. It was sold. It was like a state fair threw up in there. It was so disgusting. I just saying, like, Democrats have better taste. They just like, oh my God, that tacky red, white, and blue, like those little banners everywhere in that same arena that Kamala Harris had been in just a few days. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Horrible. So yeah. The momentum is definitely the momentum is on Harris's side. That is a good thing. I will underscore, I think it is really important. I think it is imperative in the next couple of days that Harris and Walz, we've got to do some kind of news conference or do some kind of sit down, or we got to answer some questions. I think that's really important. And hopefully they're practicing, or they're preparing, or they pick somebody out. Choose Abby Phillip, my old friend Abby Phillip from CNN. Shout out to Abby. We love a Harvard grad. Choose somebody who is going to ask tough questions but not go in for the attack. But we can't do the hiding from interviews thing for much longer. I just don't think that it's going to hold. I have other concerns, as I mentioned. My real concern about this economic stuff is I'm not smart enough to solve this really complicated math problem around the economy. I hope that the Harris campaign has people who are way smarter than me, who know way more than me, who are figuring out the math problem of how to address economic issues, which people are saying are their most important issues, how to set herself apart from Biden because people's feelings about the Biden economy are incredibly low, historically low. Like, people, the dissatisfaction with the economy right now is historic. Despite Q2 GDP being 2.8%, despite productivity being up, despite still, even after the market correction, the stock market is up over the year. The consumer sentiment, meaning the feeling about their people's feelings about their personal finances, is the surveys only match with what you would find people say in a recession. But I understand the economists say we're not in a recession. I'm not a data denier. I accept it. I think we're pre-recessionary at the very least. So we have to figure out some talking points around the economy and what the plan for the economy is and how Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to do different things with regard to the economy. I understand that they might not want to go too deep on that because the fact of the matter is that the president and the vice president have actually limited, almost no power with regard to truly the larger economic. It just, they don't have it, but people are still going to be pointing the finger and saying, why'd y'all let Jerome Powell wait so long? But Jerome Powell doesn't fucking care. Yeah. I mean, that is really concerning me. The math problem truly that is deeply concerning me moving toward November is the recognition that this race is going to be won on the margins. No matter how much people hate Donald Trump, I think it is still reasonable to expect for this race to be incredibly close and won by thousands of votes, tens of thousands of votes. And most people say that their top issues are the economy and immigration. The the trajectory, the trends, the economic trends, especially with regard to people's personal finances, are not looking great. And I don't think that we should expect them to improve in the next couple of months. So the math problem is, how do you convince those people, those 50,000 people, 100,000 people who are going to actually decide this election? Because I totally believe Kamala Harris can win the popular vote. I'm actually convinced of that. Totally. If you look at the polling, Morning Consult, Reuters, NPR, Marist, I totally believe Kamala Harris can win the popular vote. I am still worried about that electoral college. I am. Okay. 3 months is a long time. It is and it isn't. It is and it isn't. A lot of stuff could happen in 3 months, but also a lot of bad stuff could happen in 3 months. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I'm sorry. I know people are like you're such a don't be a downer. Okay, I won't use this time to be a downer. The trends are not looking great. I won't be a downer. I won't be a downer. I'm worried about what kind of crap Republicans are going to pull behind the scenes in the Electoral College. Um, Clinton and Biden held much bigger leads, including double digit over Trump at this point in the election. The fact that Harris has tiny margin lead reflects that this is very close. I think we should expect it to be very close. But do you think we can win Pennsylvania is the question. Oh, my honest answer. I don't want to say my honest answer. I don't want to say my honest answer. I don't want to go on the record with my honest answer, but look, it's early. It's early. Do I think Kamala Harris and Tim Walz can win Pennsylvania today? No. I understand that in the polling, and this is good. In the polling, there is the most recent, there's the Bloomberg Morning Consult poll that they're ahead by 1 percentage point in Pennsylvania. But I just think, look, the whole thing was Scranton Joe, okay? Scranton Joe was able to convince the 16 Trump voting white men to go for Scranton Joe in 20. That's important. Another important dynamic in 2020 is, and somebody corrected me on this, thank you for correcting me, that youth vote, the youth, they showed up and showed out. You know, the 2020 presidential election had the highest voter turnout in American history. And it was still won by 40 something thousand votes in 3 states. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, you guys. And especially, this is why I'm saying that the super smart, I'm sure brilliant, well educated, the Harris Walz campaign economists and economic advisors, surely they have figured out the math problem that befuddles me. Because the math problem is, how does the nominee of an incumbent party where the incumbent president has incredibly low approval ratings, the incumbent president's economy is historically low approval ratings, consumer sentiment, meaning how people feel about their personal finances, is trending down, the personal savings rate is going down, even though spending is still good. That's another economic indicator that the people like. Spending is still good, but people aren't saving money like they want to. The sticky CPI is higher than it was. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's my real concern. Is how are you getting the swing voters when the swing voters are still saying that they trust Trump with their most important issues than they trust Harris. That's my but there's still time. There's still time. And I'm not even good at math. Like I said, I couldn't do government because the statistics was gonna beat my ass. You know, I took a couple political science classes. I took a couple economics classes. The statistics was gonna beat my ass. I couldn't do it. I just want to read books. I want to read books and talk about ideas and write pretty sentences. That's what. Biden barely won, you guys. The other reason why, you guys, this is the other reason why we've got to, okay. I guess I'm gonna be the Democratic Party realist here. I'm gonna be the Democratic Party realist. I'm gonna take it upon myself. Biden barely won in 2020, and he barely won after 4 years of Trump chaos. Do we get what that means? People, we were in a Trump presidency. We were experiencing Trump chaos every single day. We were in a pandemic, horribly mangled by Donald Trump, and Joe Biden barely won. Moreover, it is hard, right? Incumbency should confer a marked advantage. It should, unless you get some weird stuff like what's happening here, and unless the economy is bad. If the economy is bad, incumbency gets wiped out because people say, oh no, we want something else. So, do I think she can do it? Yes. Yes, I do. I think she can. But I need for people to be very real about the landscape. I just personally am annoyed when people try to do the gaslighting BS. I can't handle that. I can't handle it. Okay. So, that is all I have to do. Yeah. We can, yeah, we have voter suppression, we have, swing voters. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for showing up, coming to hang out and have fun. And you're, of course, are always, just let me know what you want me to talk about. And I will be back later. Bye.